to Kent Tonight, live on KMTV. I'm Louisa Britton. Your top stories on Friday, the 9th of November. Investigation launched after racial abuse claims on a Arriva bus.
And I'll be live here in Gillingham at the bus depot as Arriva faces allegations of racism.
Battling Brexit worries, Eurotunnel dismiss fears over future of travel.
I don't think anyone needs to be concerned about travel to and from Europe after Brexit.
Sittingbourne remembers, researchers uncover stories from the town's fallen soldiers.
It's the people are so real. It's not just the ones who died, it's those who were related to them.
And in sport, eyes on the prize, new Ebbsfleet manager sets out playoff ambition.
But first this evening, Arriva's investigating after Rochester school children were allegedly racially abused. A mother's hit out at the bus company after her daughter was targeted on the 668 bus from Chalk to Rochester Grammar School. Arriva says it's now investigating, and Poppy Jeffrey is at the Arriva depot for us now. So, Poppy, what more can you tell us?
Yeah, so Arriva is in fact investigating claims of racism after a driver allegedly targeted black children and racially abused them on a bus. Now, these claims came from a mum called Ngozi Okeke, who said that her 11-year-old daughter was on the 668 bus from Chalk, which is near Gravesend, to Rochester Grammar School when it happened. At 8:10 on Wednesday morning, the bus was half an hour late to pick up the children on the Lower Higham Road stop. A group of girls reportedly then got on and started kind of pushing, making a bit of fuss, when the bus driver said he was not going anywhere until they all got off, and reportedly also swore at them. Then the driver allegedly said, "Get off the bus," and then made the allegedly racist comments.
And what have Arriva said as a response to this?
Yeah, Arriva have been responding to tweets from parents who are concerned, and they've put out a statement saying that they are so sorry that this has happened. We do not expect or condone this type of behaviour from any Arriva employee. I have gathered everyone's comments that have been tweeted so far regarding this matter, and I've passed them on to the depot concerned to make them aware. I mean, we should be having more information as to how this investigation has been going in the coming weeks and months. But for everyone concerned, this is obviously quite an upsetting and troubling matter for those young school children.
Absolutely, it will be something we'll be covering as the story develops. Thank you for that, Poppy. Now, Eurotunnel bosses have dismissed fears that post-Brexit travel could be disrupted at the border. They've launched a campaign to try to reassure passengers who say they're confused about changes to customs arrangements as of March next year. Christina Curtis has been to Folkestone to find out more.
With less than 6 months to go, there has been confusion over how Brexit could affect the service. Research by Eurotunnel found that post-Brexit, 59% of people don't know what will happen to their passport. 50% are unsure if they'll be able to travel to the EU with their pets. And 41% are unsure if they'll be able to drive in the EU on a UK driving licence.
We're conscious that there's increasing confusion amongst people who are looking to travel, potentially post-Brexit, that there may be some changes. So we've decided that we would set up a website where people can come and they can get the latest information about what Brexit might mean for travel with your car to mainland Europe. Anything that we feel is an area where people are looking for facts, we are there to, in one place, one sort of hub, give them that information and send them to the appropriate sources.
More than 2.6 million vehicles use this service every single year. But the concern is, will it be so straightforward to use post-Brexit?
I don't think anyone needs to be concerned about travel to and from Europe after Brexit. For the travel itself, the time that it takes, the processes that they will need to go through when they're here at our terminals, and the speed that that will take, there is no reason to think that those will change, and there is no reason at all to think that that will have an impact on the ticket prices.
As well as all the confusion, people also say they are concerned about how their future journeys could be affected.
We go to France quite a lot. We're always very impressed by the way that we're processed through the tunnel here with passports and the ticket system. And there is some concerns if they do impose some sort of stricter regime about checking passports.
We just have to wait and see. I think there's too much speculation, like there always is, and I think no, just we're doing it now. We should do it, and we should embrace it.
I travel fairly regularly, like once or twice a year to France, just on day trips and things like that. But I mean, I think surely it's going to make hold-ups, isn't it, on the border crossings?
At the moment, there are no definite changes, but Eurotunnel staff are advising people to make sure their passports are more than 6 months in date and have relevant PET checks if they are travelling just after March 2019. But, as with all things to do with Brexit, the only certainty is that uncertainty is expected until next March. This is Christina Curtis for KMTV.
Next this evening, a main road alongside a Folkestone supermarket, which was destroyed by a fire, has been reopened. Temporary lights are in operation in Cheriton Road following the devastating fire at the Morrisons yesterday. Kent Fire and Rescue Service confirmed this morning the fire has been fully extinguished, with Morrisons taking back duty of care for the site. The huge fire started around 7 in the morning in a deep fat fryer and quickly spread to the roof. Around 50 firefighters and 12 engines were called. Now, a University of Kent expert says Iceland's move to ban palm oil products from its stores could backfire. It comes as the retailers had its Christmas advert, which focused on palm oil's impact on orangutans, banned for being too political. And to talk more about this, I'm now joined by Dr. Jake Bicknell from the Durrell Institute of Conservation and Ecology from our Canterbury studios. Thanks ever so much for joining us. What do you make of this ban of this advert, for the Christmas advert Iceland's been put out?
Hi Louisa, thanks for having me. Of the advert, I'm not too sure really, but I think the question evolves really around whether palm oil should be banned from supermarket chains like Iceland in food products. And the reason for that is because they chose to ban palm oil in their products because they say it is the leading cause of deforestation in Southeast Asia. And that's a very simplistic way of looking at the question of forest loss, especially tropical forest loss. And the reason for that is that palm oil actually requires much less land than other edible oils and indeed other food sources to actually produce the same amount of food than compared to these other edible oils. So really the question is, if we don't use palm oil, what's the alternative? And actually the alternatives may be things like soy oil. And soy oil requires a lot more land and is equally to blame for forest loss, but instead of in Southeast Asia, it's being grown in the Amazon. So forest loss is happening due to feeding the world. So banning palm oil is not really the solution. I think that supermarket chains such as Iceland should actually be working with the industry to make it more sustainable and find solutions without shifting that demand onto other products which may be equally to blame.
But is palm oil to an extent bad for the environment, or should other supermarkets be taking similar action to take a stand against damage to the environment?
So palm oil is attributed with forest loss to clear the forest to grow the oil. Palm oil itself is not bad for the environment, but it's the forest loss that Iceland took their action against. And so the forest loss is going to happen when we're trying to produce foods, and the big picture is that actually other types of crops might require more forest loss. So banning one product may actually shift demand onto a product that is even worse.
So what the government potentially could do to help stop deforestation, what steps do you think they should take?
Well, I think that especially in more affluent countries, we should be demanding only certified products such as palm oil. So there are two types, broadly speaking, of palm oil: those that are certified and those that are not. And the palm oil that is certified, whilst maybe we have to pay a slight premium for it, we know that those areas, that palm oil is being produced without deforestation.
Well, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Thanks. Next this evening, drivers with 12 points on their licence are still behind the wheel in Medway. That's according to road safety charity Brake, which found that 38 drivers in Medway have managed to dodge a ban after getting the points on their licence. Drivers can keep their licence if they convince a magistrate that they'll face exceptional hardship if they lose it. But what do you think? Should drivers with 12 points on their licence be allowed to keep it? We asked residents in Rochester to find out.
Yeah, well, yeah, I do actually. 12 points on a licence should be an automatic ban. You know, to get that many, you know you're doing something wrong, and systematically.
There's far too much speeding on the roads at the moment. Very dangerous, especially when you've got a dog walking with you.
I really don't know. There's too many things that imponderables that it all depends on. If it's been for a seriously dangerous bit of driving, then yes.
Absolutely. I think it should, for everybody's peace and safety on the road. We can't afford to have dangerous drivers on our road, not ban the highway code. So it's in everybody's interest. Yes, I do.
I feel like there might be special circumstances, but that'd have to be looked at the time.
I think so, because it's, at the end of the day, if you get a point on your licence, it's almost telling you that you've broken the rules. And if they can get away with it, you're basically saying that rules are there and they don't actually mean anything, whether it's you're speeding or anything else. So
Welcome back to Kent Tonight, live on KMTV. Now, ahead of Remembrance Sunday, a film's been created to pay homage to more than 100 Royal Naval sailors bombed in Chatham 100 years ago. It's been created by the Royal Naval Association and the universities at Medway to remember those who were killed. And to talk more about it, I'm joined by the creators Dennis Potter from the Royal Naval Association and Dr. Sue Plummer from Canterbury Christchurch University. Thanks ever so much for both of you for joining us. First of all, tell us a little bit about what this film is about.
Well, we decided to, as opposed to leaving the story of the drill shed bombing pigeonholed, we thought we'd create a DVD to let everybody know just exactly what happened on that particular night.
And in terms of what people watching this, they're not quite sure exactly what happened. Bring us back to the drill shed bombing. What happened on that evening?
Well, it was on the 3rd of September 1917. Gotha airplanes dropped 2 bombs on the drill shed just across from here and killed 131 naval personnel. It was shards of glass actually killed them amidst all the confusion and the devastation. The blast itself has obviously played a major role in that. But the roof was blown off, it would appear, and the shards of glass twisted in the air, come down like arrows and severed and slain many, well, 131.
Horrific.
It was horrific, yeah.
Absolutely.
One of the first nighttime air raids in the world at the time, I believe, yeah.
And Sue, how important is it that events such as these are remembered?
Well, it's very important. It's important for those people, the relatives of those people who died. It's very important for the Medway population, and it's important for the country as well, because they're not here to tell us the story, but we are, and so we feel that it's our duty to tell people what happened so that they can be remembered and their relatives can be proud of them as well, as we are.
Absolutely, and obviously this year is 100 years. It's quite a big landmark. There's been lots of events happening across Kent. What do you make of all the things that have been going on?
Well, it's tremendous the amount of effort that's been put into a lot of the events that are happening. We've got 2 on Sunday, and in particular one at the Great Lines in Chatham and Victoria Gardens in Chatham as well. There's one at Rochester Cathedral, and there'll be a lot of RNA personnel will be there.
And Medway itself has quite a strong history with the military. How important is it that some things take place here where all this happens?
It's important because, as you say, this is where it happened. This is where it should be remembered. The universities at Medway, of course, we're on the site that was HMS Pembroke. So it's important that the universities with the RNA remember what happened, because it's all part of our history here.
And for people who might want to have a look at the film, where's the best to go find it?
Well, they can find it, they can either go to the universities at Medway Drill Hall Library website, and they can find it there, or they can go to Canterbury Christchurch University website. They go to the Medway campus, About Medway, and then they can see the YouTube link there.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for both of you for coming in. Great to hear about the film, and hope Sunday goes well. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Meanwhile, more than 1,000 victims of the First World War are at the scene of a new exhibition in Sittingbourne. It's the culmination of 6 years' work for the Historical Research Group, who have uncovered new information about those from the area who lost their lives in the conflict. Now, a large memorial wall has been put up in the Forum Shopping Centre, and Poppy Jeffrey's been to find out more.
6 years of research, but finally 1,150 names from across the Sittingbourne area have been properly remembered. It's taken 126 volunteers hours of work to find out more about the victims of the First World War, 100 years on.
Well, this is grandfather's brother, although grandfather was in it as well, the First World War. And so it's kind of, the family knew of this, but now we're knowing a lot more about it, and it's getting a little bit personal. I found that the grave is in Chichester, and the times I've been to Chichester and not bothered to look at that area, which I will now, because it's so much more real now.
We didn't even know his name when I started researching. Eventually found him. He served in the London Brigade and was in Palestine when he was killed in April 1918, and he's remembered on the Jerusalem War Memorial. And this is a Tommy, which I got this year just in time for the centenary of his death.
The family name on the wall is George and John, which are, as far as I know, my father's great uncles who died in the First World War.
It's a project run by the Historical Research Group of Sittingbourne, and it's on display at the Forum Shopping Centre. 228 photographs and short biographies have been put in windows of empty units, drawing in a lot of attention.
It's the people are so real. It's not just the ones who died, it's those who were related to them, you know, the wives who were waiting for years to know what had happened to their husbands. It really has been a very moving experience for all of us who've taken part.
The families of those remembered by the project found it touching to see their names on the wall of reflection.
It's hard to comprehend the scale, like, to start with.
Quite remarkably, the only woman in this whole memorial project of 1,150 names is this one next to me, Alice Post. Now, she worked at the gunpowder works in Faversham back in the war, and she died of TNT poisoning. She is the only woman whose story is recorded in this memorial so far, but the team are still looking for more victims and more stories to be told. This is Poppy Jeffrey for KMTV in Sittingbourne.
And for those of you wanting to head to a remembrance service this weekend to mark Armistice Day, here's a list of some of the main ones taking place in the county. The Maidstone Centenary Parade will be setting off from Week Street at 10:30 on Sunday morning. Westmoreland High Street will be closed for their remembrance event from 10:15 until 11:10, and another service will take place at the Tunbridge Wells War Memorial at 10:45. Canterbury Cathedral will also host its remembrance service at the same time too. Now, with a look ahead to the weekend's FA Cup action for Kent's football sides, here's Harry with the sport.
And we begin with Gillingham as they face National League side Hartlepool in the FA Cup tomorrow afternoon. The Gills haven't had the best of luck in the competition in recent years, with defeats against Brackley a standout memory in fans' minds. It's in the players' and staff's minds too. And speaking ahead of the game, Steve Lovell says his side can't be complacent. But first, here's captain Gabriel Zakwani, who says they have to be careful as anything can happen.
Yeah, especially because I was very young. Went to Fulham, Craven Cottage, enjoyed the occasion. And we were just more up for it than them. We were hungry, and on the back of it, I managed to get a move to Fulham. So it's been a cup that's been nice to me in the past. So I think it's just, again, I've experienced it. So I've been on both sides. I've lost as the favourite as well. We lost in the cup game against Wickham as well at Fulham. So there's ups and downs, but I think you just got to make sure your mentality's right and you approach the game properly.
And it can happen. You know, we had Carlisle down here last year. And we played really well against Carlisle. We should have won the game down here, but we go up there and replay and lose a replay. So we know what it's like. When I played here, I think Welling beat us in the FA Cup going back many years ago. So you know it can happen. And if you're not on your form on the day, these things can happen.
Now, staying with football, and Maidstone United's Jack Paxman believes former boss Jay Saunders should have joined Macclesfield when he had the chance. The sides meet in the FA Cup first round at the Gallagher Stadium on Saturday, and it could easily have been Saunders in the away dugout. He rejected an offer from the League Two club in June, only to leave Maidstone by mutual consent a couple of months later. And Paxman said he wished Saunders had taken the role, as he could have gone on to great things. On to Ebbsfleet United now, and new manager Gary Hill has big ambitions for the Kent side. Hill said that he's aiming to get Ebbsfleet back in the National League playoffs this season. He arrives at Stonebridge Road with Fleet 10 points adrift at the top, 7 after 19 matches. But Hill, having replaced Darryl McMahon as manager on Thursday, believes they can make up the ground and emulate last season's lofty finish. And you're up to date on sport from across the county this week. I'll have more for you on Monday, including the latest episode of our sports programme, Team Talk. I'll see you then.
A reminder, you can watch Kent Tonight live and on catch up at our website kmtv.co.uk. You can stay up to date with all the news, sport and weather from right across Kent whenever and wherever you are. You'll find breaking news, local features and repeats of our special programmes. It's going to be pretty grey tonight with heavy showers and high winds across the county, overnight lows of 11 degrees. The weather's looking much brighter into the weekend with highs of 13 degrees in the north of Kent, but Ashford could still see some rain. Those showers will return into the afternoon though, with temperatures reaching 13 by the coast. And looking forward to the next few days, and if you're heading to any Remembrance Sunday ceremonies, there will be heavy showers continuing into Monday, but things should start to brighten up by Tuesday. You've been watching Kent Tonight live on KMTV. There's more news made just for Kent throughout the evening, but don't forget you can always keep up to date with the latest news across your county by logging on to kmtv.co.uk. But for now, have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.